Please tell that great story about changing your name. The world needs to hear it.
2008, I went on a 10-day poetry walking tour with the poet David White. He's internationally known. He's been a very close friend and teacher to me. And it was with 30 other people from around the world, and I spent 10 of the richest days of my life while I was there. The first night, we were up above Galway Bay. We were walking up in the sunset on this beautiful trail, and a woman comes up next to me, and we were all meeting each other. I didn't know her. And she said, "Hi, what's your name?" And I said, "My name is Norman." Norm. She said, "Oh, nice to meet you." I said, "You know, I realize I don't really like my name." I confided to her. I said, "I've never really liked it." She goes, "Oh, I see." She goes, "Well, have you ever thought about changing it?" I said, "Well, yeah, kind of, but it seemed to me like it might be a superficial thing. You know, people would judge me being superficial, so I never really seriously considered it." She said, "Oh, golly, why would you want to strap yourself with a name that you don't like when you can choose a name that you love and have that as your name, a gift to yourself for the rest of your life?" And she said it just like that. She said it sincerely. And I said, "You know what? You're right." I mean, what she said struck me as deeply true. So right then and there, I decided, because I did not like my name, I've never liked Norm or Norman, ever. It just seemed like a big mistake. So right there, I decided that I was going to do two things. I was going to get rid of the name Norm, and like in my imagination, I'd be on a boat, and it would be like an old dead fish, and I was throwing it overboard. That was the first part that was very joyful, was letting go of that one. Then the second part was to go on a discovery tour and find a name that I really liked. And so I told the group what I was doing, and everybody was kind of excited about that. And then about 2 days later, this woman walked up to me and she said, "You know, I know you're looking for a first name. You might consider my mom's maiden name." I said, "Oh, what's that?" She said, "Gavin." Now, as soon as she said it, that name just kind of sat in the sweetest place inside of me. It's like I liked it. I said, "Oh, I like that name." And that's the name that I chose. And I absolutely love that name. I've had it now for 12 years. I love introducing myself now. I love having it on my website. And it's true. It's one of the most sacred gifts, the most rich, enduring, continually, giving to me gifts I've ever given myself.
And that was at a time in your life too where you were opening up to taking big risks. You
Right.
were daring to change your name.
Right.
Daring to end maybe a marriage that wasn't working for you anymore. Just like big risks.
Yes, I was really kind of, I was in starburst mode. Even while I was in Ireland, I had a lot of intuitive downloads about my future, not only with the name, but a program that I would be designing, a transformational workshop, and some of the principles involved in it. And Spirit just seemed to be nestling up close to me and saying, "We've got some work to do."
Now then you talk about, like, after the trip, then you actually had a conversation like an actual conversation with Spirit. Then that was a first for you. Can you talk about that, please?
Yeah. While I was in Western Ireland on the last day, I was shown, almost like as inspiration, the workshop that I could create. And it was an 11-month workshop called Sacred Passages for a small group of about 20 people. And I wrote down all the ideas, and I wrote down the principles. It was like as fast as I could write. It's like when you listen to somebody who's written a song, like Neil Young or Paul McCartney. They say the song just came to me and I just wrote it. It's done. And some of those things I wrote at that time are still with me and a part of how I represent myself and my work. But after I traveled home, one day, probably about 6 months after that, I began having an internal dialogue with the presence of Spirit. Now, this wasn't my mind. This was a presence that was visiting me. It was gentle. It was loving. And it said, "We've been aware of you for some time. We'd like to know if you'd be willing to be our partner And actually, that inspiration you got in Ireland, or that program, we'd like to ask if you'd be willing to take that on and work with us collaboratively so that we can make it the best we can be, best it can be. And so inside of me, it was kind of like, okay. I said, I'm open to have that conversation. I said, how will that work? But first I said, why me? And Spirit said, you have to understand, we don't have arms. We can't do stapling. We can't make phone calls. We can't cash checks. We can't write things down. We need the participation of somebody here on the physical world to actually work with us in bringing things forward. So if you are willing to help us, we'll take the lead. We'll tell you everything to do, all the different aspects of the program, including facilitating it. We'll work with you. All you have to do is follow. And I said, oh, golly, I like that idea, because this was a big, ambitious project for me that created a little fear. And I said, this is a little scary for me. And they said, if you're willing to follow our lead, this actually could be quite graceful. And it was. And Spirit followed up on its stated intention. We worked together for about 9 months to put the thing together, and then for another 11 months once it was held, and it came off gloriously. It was a wonderful thing. And I did not have to take the lead. All I had to do was listen and follow.
And the facilitator was Gavin Fry, not Norman Fry.
That's right. Which was really great. It was really great. But my business started to open up in new territory, including this program, under the name of Gavin. My website was under the name of Gavin, which I really liked.